Where do I start? Where do I begin? How do I...
Hi, Unlimited. It's David Taylor here, and today we're starting a series of regular, hopefully, conversations with people who I think might be of interest to you and your coaching business. And our very first conversation, I'm very excited to be talking to Jennie Harland-Khan, who is based in Chamonix in France, although originally from the UK. Hi, Jennie.
Hi, David. Thanks for having me on here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. It's for those of you who are listening later in the year, it's currently winter here. And so I think Jennie and I are trying to match each other now and having some snow in the garden. But I think Jennie's probably got a little bit more than we have here.
I'm winning.
Yeah, I think you're winning, Jennie. And, you know, what I want to set the context for today's call is, as I say, I want to have a number of calls and conversations really with people who are of interest to coaches. And to introduce Jennie, the reason why I wanted to start here was recently I came across Jennie's website. And I enjoy looking at the websites of coaches and see what people are saying and how they're showing up in the world. And I felt particularly drawn into how Jennie portrayed herself in her web pages. And then I shared that with a number of coaches that I work with, a number of coaches in my community, and they were equally drawn to what was being expressed in this website. And whilst the website, I think, is merely a reflection of the individual, that made me really interested to speak to Jennie, because what I saw on the page, there was something special about it, something unique about it. And so I'd like to explore that. So Jennie, before we dive into that and that journey that you've been on, you're a coach. So what I'm really interested in, what made you become a coach? What was that journey for you?
Gosh, big question. Okay, so what made me become a coach? Well, I think it was triggered, back in 2010, I think, 2009, 2010. And it was really born out of my own personal journey of growth and frustration, shall we say. I'd reached a point where, I'd had my two children. I'd had to leave my career in London because I'd moved out to the country, and it just wasn't, put it this way, I wasn't prepared to commute. And I found myself just getting more and more frustrated, but not even really realizing why. And one day I found myself kind of sitting around a table with a bunch of other mums, and I realized I was fast becoming the woman that I swore I would never become, which was someone that was, there having a bit of a bitch about my husband in terms of it's all right for him to carry on doing what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. It's my life that's got to change. Woe is me, like total victim. It wasn't, to give you some context, it wasn't like I even had a bad life. I had it all on paper. But this frustration grew for me until one day I kind of hit my pressure point, and I slightly lost it, particularly with my husband. And he said something that changed my life totally. He said to me, "Jen, stop being such a bloody martyr and choose to do something." At that point, I continued to lose it with him, but then took some time out and just reflected on what he said, and I was like, God, you know what? He's absolutely right. And the only person that can do something about this is me. And so I started to embark on just setting myself some goals and some things in life that I've always wanted to do but never got round to, just so that I felt like I was achieving again. And as I did this, something sort of started happening, and that the people around me would literally come up to me and say, Jen, what's going on for you? Something's going on. What do you want? Like, I want a bit of what you're on. And so it obviously kind of lifted my vibration, and people were starting to recognize that. And so it was very much a natural progression. People wanted to be in my space. They wanted to talk to me about stuff. So I got myself a coach. In fact, I started on Bob Proctor's coaching program. Talk about jump in at the deep end for a year.
Yep.
And before I knew it, I had signed up to be one of his life success consultants. So I was out in the States training personally with Proctor. And it started from there. And like within literally a few months, I was running, I think I had 7 groups of 7 people on the go, which was mental.
Wow.
I'd obviously awoken something in me. I mean, what happened was that I completely burnt out. It was very unsustainable and had to reassess how I was doing things. But that is how I got started. It was quite the whirlwind. And because it took off so quickly, I just had confirmation that I think I'm actually supposed to do this. But it was really about who I was being and how I was showing up that was attracting people in. At that stage, I had no website. There was no marketing. I was just being me, and kind of, just sort of happened.
Yeah. In terms of your story, you describe yourself as being painfully shy until you were about 35 years old.
Yeah.
How does that fit with the story? Was that part of this, or what was that? What was the shift there?
It was, it was just, good story that I told myself that meant that I never had to really put myself out there. I had this belief that I really, that I was shy, that I wasn't a leader, that I would always be someone that literally kind of did what I was told and just got on with it and kept a low profile. But as my coaching business grew, I realized that it was me that people were buying. And it really wasn't going to work if I stayed hidden. And so I had to learn to get over myself, really.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it hasn't been a journey where I've, become this extrovert and, because it's not who I am. I'm an introvert. I connect with people best on a very small group or one-to-one level. And that's how I've grown my business, because that's who I am. But the more I've evolved and grown into myself, the more confidence I have in terms of being out there visibly in the world.
And so as that business has evolved, as you talk about growing your business, as I say, I came to you because your representation in the world, which is your new website, which you recently launched, really struck a chord with me. So I'd love to hear, what's the story behind that? How has that evolved over the last 2 or 3 years?
It's an interesting one. I mean, I had, as any coach listening to this will get that you evolve. I mean, we're all evolving. Things change. Sometimes that can feel very frustrating. It's like, oh God, not another website, or I'm changing what I'm doing again. Or certainly for me, as I evolved, I started working with people who were very, in a similar situation with me, like mums who didn't have a clue what was next for the next 40 years, who were, really smart, ambitious women, but their life had changed so dramatically having children. So that's how I started. In terms of website, like I said, I didn't even have a website to start. And then it evolved, and I have to say, I got very much sucked into the whole marketing of the coaching industry. You name it, I've got the course. I've done it.
Yeah, me too.
We've all got it right. And so my following website was very, it was it was pretty glossy. It was, aesthetically pleasing. Design is important for me, but it felt very samey. It felt like I'd really followed a formula of what I was being taught. Like, you have to have your headshot here. Have your opt-in here. And so I did what I was told, as I've grown up doing. And it was, I also got a lot of comments on that. But again, I grew out of it. But not only grew out of it, I felt like the more I grew into myself, the less I was prepared to be cookie cutter. And I found myself, on a high-end coaching years mastermind, and there was a lot of branding and stuff involved in that. And the more I did it, and the more I looked at what everyone else was doing, the more I thought, nah, I don't want to be part of this, because actually it's not who I am. This isn't reflecting me. I don't need to be the center of my images, for example. I can be in them, but it doesn't have to be all about me. And what I was feeling, and this is such a personal thing, this isn't a right or wrong, but I was feeling that the part of the coaching industry that I was in was becoming very, very coach-centric. It's all about the coach, what the coach has done, blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't sitting well with me. I get that we are selling ourselves, but for me it's about so much more than that. It's about the transformation. It's about, the results you're getting in your clients. And for me as well, it's the way in which I coach is all about insight and perspective. And therefore, I wanted to create that feeling with my website, hence the images. I happen to live in Chamonix, and I have a beautiful back garden to take photos in, i.e. the mountains. And to me, what the mountains mean is perspective. You get up there and we become very insignificant in terms of our problems, because the greatness of nature around me is like there is a force bigger than just it all being about us. And so I sort of started to bring clients out here. I could see the transformation happening in front of my eyes, just people showing up. I mean, I've literally just had a client arrive in Chamonix today. I just took her to a hotel, and she's just sort of sitting there going, oh my God, I can already feel like a shift. And so I wanted the website to reflect that. And personally for me, I'm about adventure, I'm about being outside, I'm about all these things. And so I set about creating a space that was me, that wasn't anyone telling me how I should do it, but it was me completely, to the way I dress, to the way there's nothing I kick around in jeans, so why not show up in jeans, And then on the copy side of things, like I was saying to you last week, I got a copywriter. I had paid a lot of money and, got it all done, and then sat with it and went, nah, it's not me. So I literally had to bin it, and I did it myself, because it felt for me the only person that can truly capture the essence of who I am is me. So I had to kind of let myself go through the process of that, and that means writing in the middle of the night, because that's when I write best, and just trusting that it was okay. And the fact that you've come to me based on my website just means an incredible amount, because it has entirely come from me, not someone else doing it.
And as I say, that's why I came for this conversation, because it felt authentic, and that's why I wanted to share that with Coaching Unlimited, that I believe the power of the coach is when we're most authentic, and I sensed that in what I saw in front of me. So I love what you describe, and I'm curious, as you've been on that journey, so working with Bob Proctor and then diving in with that, shall we say, marketing stroke coach-centric view of the world to actually becoming you, how's that been reflected in your business? How's that been reflected in the clients you work with?
It's flipped completely. It's pretty much, I've turned everything on its head. So I now do no marketing. And I know a lot of people in your community will have read The Prosperous Coach, which is kind of how we're connected. And when I read that, I just got it and sighed a big sigh of relief. It's like, yes, yes, yes. This is everything that I believed, but I didn't know was possible because I was so sucked into, the rest, like the 70, 80% of the rest of the industry doing it the kind of marketing way.
Yeah.
And really what's happened since then, firstly, I now ski about 4 times a week because I can, because I'm not marketing. The quality of my clients has completely changed. My pricing has it's probably quadrupled, I think, since I've stopped marketing. And actually, all I do now is coach. And that is what I'm good at. It's what I enjoy. And what it's meant is that I've got my passion for coaching back. Because I literally got to a point where I was like, show me the other way or I'm done. I'm done. Because I couldn't sustain the marketing. I was good at it. I was definitely good at it. But it just didn't feel good. And I've learned now if something feels good, doesn't feel good, no matter what anyone else says, don't do it. And my business now feels the most solid it's felt in a very long time.
And when you describe these clients that you're attracting now, I guess a lot of coaches, and this is probably one of the number one questions that every coach would like an answer to, is, I guess it's in 2 parts. It's how did you decide who was your ideal client? And now that you're running your business the way you do now, with no marketing, how do you connect with them? How do you meet your clients?
Okay, so in terms of, my clients now, in terms of who I work with now and who I've always, here's the thing, I've always known, actually, even when I first got into this, I've always known who I wanted to work with. And I wanted to work with very kind of high vibe, successful entrepreneurs out there in the world, really making a difference. Okay, so like when I say, they're out there doing a real job, I don't mean this in terms of anything judgmental about coaching coaches at all. I don't mean that, but for me, it's a distinction between the coaching industry and like entrepreneurs in the traditional sense, in terms of, do you know what I mean? I'm not explaining this very well. Like really forging their own way, like creating something completely new, very innovative. And I've always known exactly who I should be working with. I've always known who I wanted to work with, but I didn't have the confidence. And interestingly, when I first started, when I talk about those 7 groups of 7 people, when I look back, actually, because I was in such a kind of gung-ho, naive space, I attracted those people, and I loved working with them. And then I think when I got sucked into the marketing of the coaching industry, I lost my confidence somehow in that space. And there seemed to be this sort of hierarchical thing going on with coaches and price points and all this kind of thing. And I just sort of, I think I thought, well, who am I to coach these people? I'm not at this level yet. But actually, in the last a year and a half, when I really started to go my own way and really speak the truth to myself, actually, and stop doing things because I should do things. This whole thing, in terms of who I work with, came about. And I remember a conversation with my coach at the time, and we were in this mastermind, and there was a lot of the work was around Facebook ads and building your list and all that through that. And I just said to my coach, I said, look, my people are not on Facebook. They're not on Facebook because they are kind of too busy out there changing the world, doing what they're doing. And she kind of looked at me and went, well, I'm sure they are on Facebook. And I said, well, they might be, but I know in my heart, because I know some of these people, that that's not where they're spending their time. And she said to me, well, then you just need to go out and network. And it was kind of like I was sort of brushed off. And I sat back down and I just thought, something not right here. And I realized very clearly right then was that what she was teaching was what had worked for her. But I wasn't her.
Yeah.
And so I really had to listen to who I am. And that's when I really made that decision. I cannot do this anymore, this way. And I started exploring, this new way and the Prosperous Coach way. And in terms of like how I get my clients now, what I've done is just started to play more. It might sound very counterintuitive, but I've been to some really cool events, like Awesomeness Fest was one, which was a bit of a game changer for me. I meet people through having conversations. Like I met someone I was having dinner with the other night, and really interesting background, interesting person. Like he's made his money already. He's now looking to do something in the world. He's got so many ideas that he wants to very much be in contribution. And that was just being out having dinner. Now, I know that's not very tangible for people to grasp, but when you set an intention to really just connect with inspiring people, because that's an absolute now for me. My clients have to inspire me rather than me being the inspirer. People are just coming into my life, and what's happened is, I'm just in service. Like I'm just coaching. I will offer people coaching experiences with absolutely no attachment, and they'll either inquire after about working with me or not. It really doesn't matter. But the fact is I am coaching, and that's my focus. That's it.
Yeah.
And now have some really interesting people that, that are turning up.
And as you've got clear on who you work with and clear on how you work with people, and you ski 4 days a week, and I presume in the summer you get out there and walk or be in the
I'm a
mountains,
big hiker.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, big at hiking. So what would be, in an ideal year, how many clients would you work with? And also, typically, how long do you typically work with a client?
So in terms of how long, minimum 6 months. If I'm really inspired by them, then a year. Like I've got to want to spend a year with someone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll depend on how, it's just, again, it's an intuitive feeling about someone. If it's like an apps, I mean, I think the thing that's changed now is that I almost feel like I'm in partnership with my clients, because they're people with, big missions, and they're out there contributing. I genuinely feel like I'm part of their team, or I'm in partnership with them. So if I'm really excited about their mission, which is a bit of a, kind of has to be part of it now, then for sure a year. But for some people that's just too long. So I will do 6 months. In terms of the number of people in a year, probably no more than 10 max, unless I, it's possible that I will do like a group, kind of 6 people adventure mastermind where, I incorporate a lot of adventure retreats in Chamonix, Morocco, whatever. That's something that is possible. And then I would, run that as a group of around 6 to 8 people.
Yeah.
But no more than that.
So I think just to bring this to a close, I think we're running out of time soon. Because this is a conversation that could last for hours. There's so much sharing about, that journey from the marketing to being you, the coach-centric to transformation-centric, the journey of being shy to truly expressing who you are, and the world acknowledging that impact, which I think is what's happening here. That's what I see in front of me. So I really appreciate you sharing that. I think I've got one final question that. In Coaching Unlimited, there are a lot of successful coaches, a lot of coaches who've had success over the years, and there are some new coaches. If someone was beginning their coaching journey, what would one tip be that you would share with them? What's one thing you would say to a new coach who was starting on their journey?
I would say be really clear on who you are. And I think that took me a long time. I don't think it needs to take as long as it took me. So if I look at the way in which I'm coaching now, like I said, I've got a client that's just arrived here today. Environment is everything to me. I'll be coaching with her for a full day, and then we're going to ski together for a day. Like, I incorporate adventure in because it's who I am. And that's always been who I am. But I never considered that I could do that before, because not many other people are doing that. And so the more you know yourself, the more you're honest with yourself, and the less you look at what everyone else is doing, create from that space. Because you're unique. The industry is becoming, I believe when I look around, there's a lot of same out there. So you will stand out the more you're being you, in every way. So, I talk a lot about my family, for example. So, we're very much a unit, and, adventure with family and stuff is very important for us. And a lot of my clients have those same values. And you just sort of naturally attract the right people, that the relationship, the coaching relationship is such an intimate, important one. If people don't know who you are, then it's hard to have that real connection. So just be here.
You're reminding me of the Simon Sinek observation, which is people don't buy what you're selling. They buy from you because they believe what you believe.
Yes. And people have to know what you believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time away from the snow, the beautiful powder you're experiencing at the moment. Take time out and share with the Unlimited, which is amazing. And if people in Coaching Unlimited would like to connect with you, where's the best place they can connect with you?
Well, they can either come on over to my website, which is jenniehk.com, JENNIEHK.com, or just send me a message on Facebook. I kind of hang out there quite a lot. I'm within the group now, I believe, so I'll look forward to diving into that. So you can find me in there. It's Jennie Harland-Khan, I think. Or maybe, I think my thing is Jennie HK online. Anyway, you can find me on Facebook or.
I'll add the link. I'll add the link anyway to the video when we get out here. So people can, hopefully there'll be a link they can click as well if they want to make it easy to access. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jennie. I hope you have an amazing week with your client.
I will.
I look forward to connecting again soon. Thank you.